Is my mic on? Yeah, okay, thanks. Audible take the clicker. And now for something completely different. I am super excited to be here talking to you about this topic, which is basically storytelling. And the reason that I'm excited about it is because it's one of the few things that we all have a native ability to do, if we just often don't know that we have that ability. And so as we think about content and creative and how do we communicate people and reach out to people, we often forget that we're all storytellers. And so I'm really excited to be talking to you about this today. In fact, I was told I would have 15 minutes, and my very first draft of this PowerPoint was 90 slides. I mean, that's how ridiculously excited I get about this topic. I don't have 90 slides for you today. I was able to get it down to about 28 or 29, but I'd love to just get right into it. How do we use storytelling to address some of the really hard marketing obstacles that we face today? And so what are some of those obstacles? Well, number one is that information is now everywhere. When I was growing up, information was at a premium. It was very difficult to get data that I needed for projects or school, or I might have to go to the library to do some research. Now, any 8-year-old with a $50 smartphone has access to a global supply of information in real time, 24/7, wherever they happen to be. So this is a complete radical shift from where I grew up and maybe many of you grew up. Second challenge is as information became so rampant and widespread, our technology evolved as well. Our technology now helps us weed through this mountain of information, and now we just use gestures in order to navigate information. We can make life-changing decisions based on a simple swipe left or swipe right. It's absolutely fascinating. Another challenge that we have in marketing is that our language is changing. We no longer sit there and type and text how we're feeling. Now we just send an emoji or an emoticon or a meme to express how we're feeling. And if you ever really want to feel old, just watch two teenagers talking to each other and communicating. It's like aliens. At least that's how I feel. I don't know. Another challenge that we have is this rapid shrinkage of attention spans. Microsoft did a study a couple of years ago and found that we finally beat goldfish in terms of attention span. Somehow they measured that goldfish have attention spans of 9 seconds. We got them. We're down to 8 and rapidly descending. So, I know it's crazy. But we have this kind of elephant in the room, right? We have research and evidence that suggests that our attention spans are shrinking, and yet there's this thing called binge watching, right? Netflix, streaming video. I mean, how many of you have spent hours, days, weekends watching Netflix, right? Some of you, I know it's a guilty pleasure. You can, do your hand about that high. So how do we explain that? How do we model that? How do we think about that from a marketing perspective? Well, in communication theory, like if you were going to go and do an academic study of this, what you'll find is that in communications, we think about more than just the message and more than just what is being told. Senders have filters that they apply to what they're going to communicate, and listeners have filters that they have in front of the message and what they perceive. And so what that means is that, well, here, let's go back to this example. Have you ever been in a debate or argument with a family member or a significant other, and you find yourself going, wait a minute, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. I think probably all of us have had that experience, right? So how do we as marketers think differently about what we want to say and then how to say it and how do we get through that filtering mechanism? Because really, what we have done in this highly intense informational world where technology allows us to have attention spans, the length of time of a swipe, what are we doing? What we're doing is we're building these bubbles around ourselves, these experiential bubbles. And I found this picture online, and I just thought it's so well demonstrated what I think is going on in the world. And so again, as content providers, as marketers, as creative agents in the world, we have to think about people in a different way. We have to think about all of these bubbles that people have in their lives and how they use and consume information. So how do we get inside those bubbles? The fun thing, generally, if you're come from Western culture, we love to dissect things. We love to break them apart. We like to get in and see all the little pieces. We like to know what's your personality, what's your age, what are your tastes, what are your web browsing habits, right? This is what we do. And so we also like to use that data to categorize people. Well, are you a Gen Xer? Are you a Gen Yer? Are you a millennial? Are you a boomer? Does that in some way inform me about what your attitudes and opinions and behaviors are? Can I be predictive in that sense? And so it's really fun. So, and this is something we are very naturally capable of doing, and we've been doing it for quite a while. So I had the millennial boomer slide up there. We've also looked at other things like, are you a creative? Are you right-brain? Are you a left-brain person, organizationally? Can that in some way inform me how I should be communicating to you? We also have personality profiles for people. How many of you are familiar with Myers-Briggs? Show of hands. Most people in the room, right? Are you an INTJ? Are you an ENTF? Does that in some way help me understand who you are as a person? And even going back even further, like this is not a new phenomenon. For 3,000 years, we've been categorizing people. Did any of you wake up this morning and check your horoscope? Based on when you were born, what planets were in alignment, what moons were crossing over which horizons? Yeah. Why do we do that? Because we think that it helps us understand people and how to communicate with them and how to get them to attend to us. So, as we, as content creators, think about this, and particularly in our group, there's this interesting kind of dead end that you reach when you start to take all of this data science and marketing segmentation into place. I can build a huge profile for you and know what your personality profile is, when you were born, what your web browsing characteristics are, all of these things, and I can create these huge buckets in order to try to tailor content to you. Does that mean you're going to like me? Does that mean that you're going to buy from me? I don't think so. So if science and marketing and segmentation isn't the answer to get you to form a deep and abiding connection with me, what is? How do I get through your filters to make sure that when I send you a piece of content or an email or something, the filters don't matter? That's an interesting discussion, right? Well, the good news, it's storytelling. People love stories. And every single one of you has a unique story to tell. It's like a superpower that we were all born with and have developed over 1 million years, and we forget that we have it. One of the great geniuses of our generation recognized this. And I hope you won't mind if I just read this quote, because I think it's brilliant. He said, "There's no such thing as an attention span. There's only the quality of what you're viewing. This whole idea of an attention span is a misnomer. People have an infinite attention span if you're entertaining them. And doesn't that so clearly articulate the model that we were just talking about these bubbles that we create around ourselves? If you get blocked by a filter, man, you get blocked fast. But if you get through the filter and onto the inside, you'll have their infinite attention. And as marketers, that's where we want to be. So what makes a good story? A good story creates connection. The listener feels like they have in some way become a part of the story. A good story creates immersion, whether it's written or not. You can have something written that still allows somebody to see, feel, hear, taste, touch, right? The more immersive your communication, the more people are going to attend to it. A great story has focus. I'm not, creating 18 different things for you to think about, some of them which might be contradictory. So keeping stories simple, keeping them focused, those are the kinds of things that make stories great. Good stories are also entertaining. And I don't necessarily mean entertaining in the sense of ha 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 ha. I mean entertaining in the sense of, was it worth my time? Did I get value out of it? And there's other good news about storytelling, if you should decide to try to do this for yourself, which I am certainly going to encourage you to do. The good news is that as human beings, we crave great storytelling. Just look at Netflix as an example of what we will do, how we will spend our weekends, if we're attuned to great stories. And the other great news is that every single one of you can be a storyteller. So yes, I am talking about you. And why would I be up here doing a presentation about content creative and then talking about you? Because while Surefire has an incredibly well thought out content library, and while we think we're doing a particularly great job about providing that content to you, it only gets you so far, right? I mean, we have content that will help you build your book of business. We have content that will help you and your borrowers successfully navigate a loan process. And we have content that will help you keep in touch with your clients after the sale so that you can get repeat and referral business. But nobody, including us, as much as I love my team, nobody can tell your story like you can. Nobody. And that's why, yes, as I'm looking out into the crowd, I am looking at you, because you can do it, and you can take the great content platform that Surefire has provided, you can actually go another level by taking your personal stories, your authentic experiences, putting that into your marketing mix. You will absolutely dominate your industry. And then this is always kind of the next reaction, right? But I can't do that. I'm an introvert. I'm shy. I don't have any great compelling stories. I'm not funny. I'm not, I'll sit here and I'll listen. And I'll listen. And then I'm going to pause you. And I'm going to let all those mental stories in your mind stop. And then I'm going to tell you, God, that was a great story. You're a natural at this. If you can tell me all the reasons why you're not going to be a good storyteller, guess what? All we got to do is change the subject. Change it from I can't to something that is particularly unique to you, that somebody might be interested in. I know that I've said this a couple times, but it's really worth beating home that every one of you has an authentic story. And if we tie this back down to the mortgage industry, it could be, how did you get into this industry? Was it through family? Was it through friends? Was it through some experience that you had that made you just love helping people get loans so that they could have their dream home? Those would all be great and unique stories. None of you share the exact same story. What about the first loan you did? Was it great? Did it go swimmingly? Were there any problems? Was there anything that you learned from that experience that now future people who work with you could benefit from because you're more experienced in doing loans? Of course. Those are all good stories that you can tell. And once you've picked your story, pick your medium. Not everybody wants to write. Maybe you like radio. Maybe you like television. Maybe you like to paint a picture of the homes that you close for your clients. Maybe you like to compose music and just put it on their answering machine for the people that you close. It doesn't matter what it is. Choose whatever medium you're comfortable with. And then let people find you. That's the magic of storytelling. The magic of storytelling is that you're not out there targeting some specific audience with some long criteria of profile dynamics. You're letting them come to you based on something that is already powerful and meaningful to you. And when they do come to you, find out who they are. Because they're going to want to share, hey, I saw that article you did. That really touched me. That was meaningful to me. Ask them about it. Talk to them about it. Find out more about them. Become part of their story. Because once you've done that, once you've used your personal and authentic story, you're already inside the bubble. Just like Seinfeld was saying. In science, marketing, segmentation, profiling, web queries, that's not going to do it. That'll get you part of the way there. But to get to the last mile, you have to develop real, meaningful, personal relationships. And it doesn't have to be hard. It just starts with a story. And we can help. So Jonas and I, right before the summit, we were talking about this presentation and how could we sort of connect these things together. And so graciously, I don't know where he is. So Jonas told you a story about guaranteed response, and he showed you what happens just from one email. What Jonas didn't tell you was that he had a lot of other story-driven strategies that he implemented as well, which also increased his business. And so he's offered graciously to put together a webinar just on that and how he used storytelling to actually drive, it was like 14 new ones, I think?
12 articles I wrote, put it out on media, put it on email, 14 new deals, $74,000 in commissions.
Yeah, who doesn't like that? So anyway, if you want to take a picture of this, I think I got the URL.
Shay, like you said, not everybody likes to write. You know?
No.
Now video is starting to become popular. Although
Very good
I
point.
got a face for radio, not a face for video, so video doesn't work for me. But it can be audio, it can be written, it can be video. But just connect. Whatever you are comfortable doing, tell your story. We've all got Facebook pages now. We've all got these platforms to put your story out there, and that story will connect others. And then you got to listen.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for that. That's absolutely right. So these are the kinds of things that in Jonas's webinar we can help you with, because it might be something that you've thought about before. It might be something that's brand new to you. The hardest part is always the first step, and that's why we're here to help, and we can help you do that. There may be some of you out there who this is like your groove. You know, you're already using storytelling. And if that's the case, I would love to hear from you. Learn from your successes, learn from your failures, learn how you've been doing this in the marketplace. And this is an alias that we created so that we can actually have a larger dialogue about using storytelling in marketing. And I hope that you'll take a picture of that, write it down, and send us some of your success stories. Or after the webinar that you do with Jonas, use this to let us know how it turned out. And I think I might be running up on my time. I'm not sure. I don't know. I ran out of slides.